and Mummy had decided to help her by doing all the outside and the sea to begin with, which left this outline of the country in front of her, this funny-shaped piece of raffia floor, a bit like a bulgy old lady sitting on a beach with her legs stretched out, the legs being Cornwall, though of course she hadn't thought that at the time. She didn't even know the word Cornwall, or what colour the piece was, and you know what children are like with jigsaws. They just pick up any old piece and try to force it into the hole, so she probably picked up Lancashire and made it behave like Cornwall. Yes, that was it. Her first memory. Her first artfully, innocently arranged lie. And there was often someone else who had had the same jigsaw as a child, and a passage of soft competitiveness would ensue about which piece they would do first. It usually was Cornwall, but sometimes it was Hampshire, because Hampshire had the Isle of Wight attached to it and stuck out into the sea, and you could match the whole easily. And after Cornwall or Hampshire, it might be East Anglia, because Norfolk and Suffolk sat on top of one another like brother and sister, or clutched one another like husband and wife, lying flatly coupled, or made the two halves of a walnut. Then there was Kent, pointing its finger or its nose out at the continent in warning. Careful, foreigners over there. Oxfordshire playing spoons with Buckinghamshire and squashing Berkshire flat. Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire like side-by-side carrots or pine cones, the smooth sea-line curve of Cardigan. They would remember how most of the large, clear counties were round the edge, and when you'd put them in, it left an awkward muddle of smaller, odd-shaped counties in the middle, and you could never remember where Staffordshire went. And then they would try to recall the colours of the pieces, which had seemed so important at the time, as important as the names, but now, so long afterwards, had Cornwall been mauve, and Yorkshire yellow, and Nottinghamshire brown, or was it Norfolk that was yellow? Unless it was its sister, Suffolk. And these were the sorts of memories which, even if wrong, were less untrue. But this, she thought, might be a true, unprocessed memory. She had progressed from the floor to the kitchen table, and her fingers were swifter with the counties now, neater and more honest, not trying to force Somerset to be Kent, and she would usually work her way round the coastline, Cornwall, Devon, Somerset, Monmouthshire, Glamorgan, Carmarthen, Pembrokeshire, because England included Wales. That was the bulgy old lady's stomach, all the way back to Devon, and then fill in the rest, leaving the messy Midlands till last, and she would get to the end and a piece would be missing. Leicestershire, Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, Warwickshire, Staffordshire, it was usually one of them. Whereupon a sense of desolation, failure, and disappointment at the imperfection of the world would come upon her, until Daddy, who always seemed to be hanging around at this moment, would find the missing piece in the unlikeliest place. What was Staffordshire doing in his trouser pocket? How could it have got there? Had she seen it jump? Did she think the cat put it there? And she would smile her nose and headshakes at him because Staffordshire had been found, and her jigsaw, her England, and her heart had been made whole again. This was a true memory, but Martha was still suspicious. It was true, but it wasn't unprocessed. She knew it had happened, because it had happened several times, but in the resulting amalgamation the distinguishing marks of each separate time, which she would now have to make up, like when her father had been out in the rain and gave Staffordshire back to her damp, or when he bent the corner of Leicestershire, had been lost. Memories of childhood were the dreams that stayed with you after you woke. You dreamed all night, or for long, serious sections of the night. Yet when you woke, all you had was a memory of having been abandoned or betrayed, caught in a trap, left on a frozen plain, and sometimes not even that, but a fading after-image of the emotion stirred by such events. And there was another reason for mistrust. If a